Hey, this is Ryan from Cincy Life Community News, xcannabis.com and clovisstar.com. And so I've been making a lot of videos lately. I've been really trying to not do social media, and I was able to take my son out to a foreign destination for a vacation, and just been spending a lot of time with my family. Just got back from seeing Angry Birds with my daughter, and I've been trying to just do a lot of things with my kids, and it's been really good to just kind of take a break from social media. But I'm back, and well, I don't work much. I'm broken from head to toe, basically. I've got titanium implants from my ankle to my knee, and my shoulder has a fiber wire reconstruction, and it doesn't work very well, and it causes me pain. And as a result, I take medication that prevents me from doing a lot of the jobs I used to do. So I stay home and I try to make media, and I do what I can to contribute to education and economics and politics and things. I give my perspective on what I see, and hope people can learn lessons from what I'm broadcasting about. This is my main message. This I made right before my car accident. I said, in my libertarian world, you can be a socialist, but in your socialist world, I can't be a libertarian. Meaning, if you want to donate voluntarily to a socialist cause, if you want to, form a community that helps out the less fortunate, you can do that. In a libertarian or capitalistic world, being a socialist is very allowable. It's totally fine. But if you're in a socialist world like Cuba, try to, be a voluntary, community there, or try to start a business there, or for that matter, try to even speak out against the government. You'll go to jail there for that. In socialist worlds, there's so much heavy-handed government control that you can't do anything, anything voluntarily. And, now I've gotten an email recently from my uncle who criticized me for taking an application for Social Security. Now, I was denied. He keeps saying that I'm getting Social Security. No, I was denied. And then I appealed, and they denied me the second time. So no, I am not getting Social Security. But what I wrote him, if I didn't need it, I would have never applied. I used to make $100,000 a year, and now I don't make anything. I cannot work. I wouldn't hire somebody like me if they were on medication, pain medication. It just is a dangerous situation. But I was like, I have to block out these email addresses. But I said, shit, you keep acting like I never work. Do you know what I was doing when I got in my accident? I was at work. That is why workers' comp paid all my medical bills. I was working in Seattle while living in Northern California. I was driving home when the drunk hit me. Do you know how long it takes to drive from Seattle to Redding, California? As a truck driver, I would suspect that you do know. I supported 700 hospitals all over the USA. I traveled about 75,000 miles a year for those 10 years that I worked in that field. I put more time and energy into traveling and working than I did anything. Yeah, I really actually did make nearly $100,000 a year for the last decade. And you can go to the Social Security Administration and you can look up your Social Security contributions, and I did, and I contributed more than most people make in like 3 or 4 years' time, in a wage. Social Security Administration, you can log in. I'm not sure I even have my PIN, but you can log in. I've done this in a different video that you can see. I'll probably link that if I'm able, but if you go to the Social Security Administration, you log in, you go to your Social Security contributions, you can see what you paid in. And for me, I started paying in 1992. That was when my first contributions came in out of a W-2 that I was earning money on, and I was 14 at that age. And the only reason why they allowed me to work full-time both summers when I was 14 and 15 is because it was an agricultural job. And with agricultural jobs, they allow minors to work full-time, or near full-time. I was working 8 to 10 hours a day digging ditches and manicuring cement water mains and heads, and irrigation heads and things like that to do cement work and stuff like that. So I was busting my ass. and I was paying into Social Security even at age 14. But for the last 10 years, I've made between 60 and 100,000 a year, and no less than 60,000 a year for the last 10 years. And that's from someone who was homeless at an early age. I was a high school dropout. I have no college education, and I worked really hard. And that's been my biggest, my biggest point with my videos, is that in this libertarian capitalistic society that we once had, we're losing it in this country now. We're going to socialism, and I think that's why our country is suffering so badly. But, we have such opportunity in this world. Even a bum like me, somebody that didn't do too well in school, can work really hard and, make a good living. And I've made a really good living in my life. And, my issue with Social Security is that it's not voluntary. You don't have options. I can't go and sign up for a private retirement fund. I have to go with the government plan. They force me to. And I really have no recourse. If it was a private plan, if there was a institution that I was, working for, please leave. If I was contributing to a private institution and getting private insurance, I would be able to take them to court and have a judge decide if I'm able to, claim my benefits once I need them. And at this point, I need them, and I've worked hard for them my whole life. I've contributed my whole life. And, ever since I was 14, and I've contributed as much as some people make in their careers, in their, 9-to-5 jobs. If it's for example, a convenience store worker who makes 18 to 20,000 a year, I have made many years' salary worth of payments to Social Security, but they forced me to. I couldn't go to a private alternative. I couldn't sign up at a private retirement fund that has, more opportunity to work in the courts or whatever to get your benefits if you need them. And so, no, I was denied. I don't get Social Security. I wish I was getting Social Security. My family sure wishes I was getting Social Security. We went from making an income of $100,000 a year to selling off all of our assets. And thank God that I made all that money in those years, because I accumulated a lot. When I got in the accident, I had 3 vacant lots in California that I had purchased, and I was buying a house in California that I had some equity in. And we had a business, retail store in Redding. That was what Clovis Star originally started out to be. And what was that, on Front Street, I believe it was, in this little castle. It was a cool little business. Anyway, and we had really done well. And so, after getting a little settlement from workers' comp, and that was meant for my medical bills primarily. And Lord knows I've had them. I pay out of pocket for everything. Now, I go to the doctor. I went a couple of weeks ago to get a cortisone shot in my ankle, and they charged me over $300. And so, yeah, I've had a massive amount of bills that I've had to pay with medical. And I have, my medicine, my physical therapy, all of that comes out of my own pocket. But then we made some more investments, and we did pretty good. I bought a 5-plex. I sold it for quite a bit more than I paid for it. It wasn't as much as it was worth, but I didn't like being in Idaho, and I didn't want to keep my asset there. I just wanted to do a fix and flip, so we sold that pretty quick. And we had a vaporizer business that we actually started for my wife's mother, who hates being a convenience store worker. And so we actually have a home in Maine that I paid for, thank goodness. But I have no debts or anything. I don't even have credit cards. I've never ever applied for a credit card. I don't have any. I've never had one. I've never even applied for one. So fortunately, I didn't even have any credit card debt. But we had a little issue with the brother-in-law, and then the stepfather came over and boxed me. He came to my house and attacked me, and so we just shut down that store. And unfortunately, she lost big time, because she got involved in the little feud between the brother-in-law and me. And if it wouldn't have been for that, she would have had a business where she could have hired somebody and had them run the operation at the store. And she could have sat on her ass and raked in the money and not had to go to work every day. She's an older lady, and she's the only one in her household that works. And I thought we'd give her a break from all of that and get her into a store. So I spent my medical money, some of it, not a not all of it certainly, but I spent some of it on helping her get into a store so that, not only she could make some money off of it, but that our family could as well. And, I can't work, so I figured somebody else running it would be better than me running it. And anyway, so now we're at a point where, we're just, struggling, and, it's hard. And instead of taking all the welfare and food stamps and all the other stuff from the government, and we qualify for it. I mean, if you saw our tax returns, you would see why. I mean, we very much qualify for it. And we haven't taken a dime, I got and I broadcast about this because I wanted to illustrate the point, but we got our heat paid by a local church here in our town. They gave us roughly $200 to help us, and they gave us a sack of food, and they helped us with our heat this winter. Just one time. They would have helped more, but we didn't want to take advantage of it, and we're trying to do this by ourselves. But I wrote about it because, with a local community organization, instead of the government, this faceless, nameless, entity that gives how much ever, you ask for, basically, in a local community organization, I feel there's a bit more accountability, plus there's the option to repay the favor and pay it forward. I've requested their application to fill out so that I can go and donate time and repay the favor and pay it forward. I have to go through like a background check, and I have to, go through the process, but eventually I'll go and, do whatever I can to help out. I told them I'd scrub toilets if they wanted me to. I'm not above that. I don't mind paying it forward. And even like after I was homeless when I was a kid, I left home early. I didn't get along with my family much, and I just didn't like Utah. I still don't like Utah very much. I gave up on the Mormon faith when I was like 8 years old. It really didn't make any sense to me. So I always wanted to get away from that culture, and I left early and went traveling. And I was homeless, and there was a group that fed me. They gave me a hot meal, and they didn't give me anything else but a hot meal every day, but it was really good of them to, step in and give me a hot meal when I needed it. And it was this group right here, New Horizons Ministries. And you can see in these photos, I was up in Seattle after the fact, after I'd moved back to Seattle with my wife and kid, and we started going through the process of volunteering there. And so I did the training process, and I actually spent time a couple of times feeding the homeless kids. Let's see, try not to show personal photos here because they are of my family, and I'm not sure all of them would appreciate being listed here. But where is it? There's one where, oh yeah, right here. Here's Mary and Liz. Now these guys were helping homeless kids when I was homeless, and then when I became an adult and was being a successful, productive adult, I went back and started volunteering. So this is me when I was helping in the kitchen, and my wife came with me, and we were doing some volunteering there. And this is when I was making the big money, the $100,000 a year. And we went back to help and contribute and pay it forward. And that's just the kind of person I am. I don't take without giving back. I'm not trying to be the guy that's always got my hand out. So, even when I was making big money and working endless hours, and living in a huge house, I'll show you the big old house we lived in. Oh yeah, so here it is. This was, now we lived here for about 2 years, and we traded about $8,000 a month worth of rent to live here for our computer services. So the guy that owned this was the guy that founded Marmot Mountain Works. You can see this was back November 2008. This is about the time my father died. And, oh yeah, that's weird. It's taking forever to load. But anyway, the guy that ran Marmot Mountain Works, who was the founder in the 70s, he owned this place, and we did a big, huge networking job for him where we networked all 3 of his stores together. And then while we were in the process of networking everything, he decided to close his stores up. And so we moved out. He would have let us live there forever. He was really accommodating and was never very anxious to make us move out, and he had plenty of real estate. But we decided when we became not so useful anymore that I wasn't doing the work for him, that we'd just move and do our own thing. And then we moved into some really awesome houses. But anyway, this was the time that I volunteered. You can see it right here. It's just an amazing house. It was a 4,000 square foot house on Lake Washington. It was worth about $5 million, like $4.5 million. And this is the view right here. But anyway.
Hello.
Oh yeah, here it is right here.
Hello.
You can see that's when they closed though. Bellevue Marmon Mountain Works closing. You know, my family's like, oh, you moved out because you weren't paying rent there. And no, I moved out not by anybody's choice but my own. I moved out because he closed the stores up and we were no longer valuable there. But I could have stayed there forever. I mean, he was so accommodating and so nice. One of the nicest guys I ever met in my life. But no, I mean, instead of taking all the handouts and the support, which I easily qualify for about $40,000 worth of free handouts from the government every year. I mean, easily qualify for that much. I haven't taken it, and instead I've just sold off all of my own assets. I sold this business. I didn't get a whole lot for it, but I sold the vaporizer store we had, and I sold my 5-plex, and then I sold my properties in California. I had 3 vacant lots, and sold my acreage in northern Maine. And so, I mean, and there's been people, you know, out in the world. You can look up a guy named Leroy Fick in Michigan who won a $2 million lottery and still took food stamps and was still, you know, and still qualified for food stamps because his income didn't change. He had a ton of assets, you know, and he could have sold those off instead of taking food stamps. But he lived in an $800,000 house and still took food stamps, and that's not who I am. I mean, every time I've taken anything, I've paid it forward and given back and taken only what I need. You know, like here, like I say, even when I was living in a $4.5 million house making $100,000 a year, I didn't need to go volunteer. They didn't pay me. I went and paid it forward because they helped me out, and I wanted to do the same thing in return. I wanted to help other people out. And so that's what I'm doing now. You know, the $200 that I got this year from the group that helped me locally, I just got the application in the mail. I'm filling it out to go and volunteer. And like I told them, I'd scrub toilets, you know, to help out, to pay it forward so that I'm not a charity case. You know, I don't like taking money that's not deserved to me. But, you know, when it comes to Social Security, I believe that I've paid in enough, and I've paid in my whole life, and I've never not worked. I've always worked. Even when I was homeless in Seattle, I worked at Pink Elephant Car Wash every day scrubbing cars. And then I'd go here sometimes and eat at New Horizons. And, you know, I always worked and always enjoyed working. I mean, I hate not working. It's the worst thing in the world for me to not work. I feel so inadequate and so stupid when I don't work, knowing, you know, how productive I am and how much opportunity there is out in the world. There's just so much opportunity. And so that's the only criticism I have, that I hate socialism, you know, taking over our country, because all of our jobs are leaving. That's why. They tax the rich too much, and the rich get sick of it, and they get out of here. I don't blame them. But anyway, check out New Horizons Ministries. They're awesome. They're up on 3rd and Cherry in Seattle, Washington, and they helped this old guy out when I was a kid, and they were just awesome, generous. None of them got paid. You know, they did it out of the goodness of their heart, and I think that's what charity should be. It shouldn't be a forced thing through the government, where the government forces people at gunpoint to give taxes so that they can redistribute the wealth. I think that charity can be voluntary, and I believe in voluntary charity, and I practice voluntary charity. And I think that's been my only complaint. But when my uncle said that I had complained about my little brother getting Social Security, oh man, I've never complained about that. I think the boy needs it. He's in bad shape, and you know, he's worked. He's done well. He was a productive kid right before getting Social Security. So I was a little confused how he got it and I didn't. You know, knowing that I was in such a bad accident that really crippled me pretty bad and killed the other guy that hit me. You know, killed him dead, decapitated the guy, and really mangled my body. And so how some people who have never been hurt, never been in any kind of a accident, and never have had any injuries, how they can get Social Security and how I can get turned down. I mean, that's what's been confusing to me. I'm messed up. you know. And literally, I would not hire anybody on pain medication. It's dangerous. So I don't know. I think I'm qualified, but the government disagrees. So maybe there's a reason.